So how do you feel about those numbers?
Those numbers to me, being in the healthcare industry and just you saying what the guy who knows their numbers, there's three categories when reporting. Okay, so I'm going to explain it to you guys. And I'm going to be real with you guys about a situation that happened actually last night. And that's new to us. So those numbers, to rule out a COVID death, it has to be somebody who tested positive, somebody who's pending positive, and somebody who died of respiratory illness. Because everybody knows that this COVID is attacking your respiratory. That's the reason why people are dying. So people who had respiratory illness and weren't tested. So when I look at these numbers and I look at my facility alone, we're underreporting. We're underreporting, and I have said why they're not reporting correctly, but it was brought to my, and I'm completely honest, I'm completely blunt, and I say it, I don't care. I say it to my DON, I say it to the administrators, I say it to everybody. Yesterday, I had somebody pass on my hand, DSAT, meaning that their oxygen level went from like what's supposed to be on O2, like 100%. She went down to like 78, and it was just declining so fast, rapidly. I called the doctor. The doctor said, well, Angela, I told her that she ended up expiring. The doctor said, we can't report COVID. I said, why can't we? They don't want us to. I said, who? She said, the government. I said, what else are you going to put? She said, does she have any other health history diagnosis? And I'm like, her health history or diagnosis won't do anything for it. She was tested for COVID. She ended up passing away. Literally, she tested probably 2 days ago and she passed away last night. That's how rapid it's killing people. She was perfectly fine. Everybody, her family was telling me that she was living a normal life, but they don't want us reporting anymore. On the ERDS, on the death certificate, they don't want us reporting it anymore. And it's kind of scary because you're not giving the accurate numbers. So when I see those, I know what real life is. And I know in my own facility, when they say, so-and-so, this many people died, I'm like, y'all missing a few, not a few, but maybe a handful. So there's definitely an underreport, and those numbers are crazy. Whether you guys think it's declining, people will be like, clap, it's not declining like 100 or 200. No, it's still a lot of people.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah. Well, I have a question, actually. Oh, sorry. You can go ahead.
No, go ahead, Nikki.
Because, I'm trying to say this in a nice way.
No,
my parents watch Fox News a lot, and that's usually wrong. We argue about it all the time, like very wrong. But I'm just verifying because I'm like, that sounds wrong. They were saying that they're reporting, like if someone dies from like cardiac arrest or something, that they're reporting that it's a COVID-related death because it apparently
they were dying.
Does that happen? Or is
it apparently makes them what?
It apparently like makes the hospital money. That's what they said. I don't believe them, but I don't know if that's true or not.
So the way it works is funding it. You're right. You're right to a certain extent. They do want you reporting it. Certain facilities do, but then the numbers start to look crazy and They're like, no. So in the beginning, they were like, report anybody who is tested. You could have cancer, and if you tested positive, your death is ruled out COVID. Regardless if you had cancer at stage 4, if you had COVID, they were automatically ruled out, death, COVID. So that's where the numbers were coming from in the beginning. Now everything's changed. We're watching the CDC when we get surveyed, half the things that CDC is telling us to do will never, ever fly. Ever fly. The
like
health organization, PPE, like reusing PPE, they were telling us to reuse N95s for 3 days. We were cross-contaminating. It's sickening. We were cross-contaminating in the OR during surgeries because we were shortage of PPEs. And then they came out with this whole new thing daily saying that it's okay to wear your N95 for 3 days. Where?
Yeah.
Because we would have been, we would have had a deficiency if that would have happened during not this pandemic. So before, everything changes daily. Like their rules change daily. I don't agree with CDC. Next time once this is all over, I'm doing everything they said. They could give me all the deficiencies they want because they're not really supporting us right now. And so, yes, you were correct. Like they were saying that, automatically the deaths were ruled COVID. But now I don't know if it's because of the numbers game. I've had so many people, DC isolation. I came back DC isolation. They weren't even retested. The rule was to be retested twice to make sure you came back with negatives. Now, all of a sudden, last week, next Monday, we come back and everybody's DC isolation and they're trying to get their numbers down.
What is
So
DC isolation?
So DC isolation is basically discontinuing their isolation, meaning that take them off of lift the isolation is basically lift the quarantine that they're in. So they're not droplet precautions or they're not contact precautions. And now the numbers are decreasing. And then now they're telling, these doctors to not report. And they're asking me, because let me tell you firsthand, I love doctors to death, but I'll never become one because you're not really doing the work. They rely on the nurses for their reports. So if I tell them this person died of respiratory distress, then that's what they're going to put. They rely on everything I say in order to give an order. So the doctor really made it very clear yesterday that the government does not want her to report, COVID-19. Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
it's kind of scary. I mean, like you said, you want to listen to the news, but you don't know what's true. You don't know what's not true. And even for myself, like, I don't know what's true and I don't know what's true. I have to go by what I see on an everyday experience. And it's unfortunate. Like, this whole situation is just crazy. It's really depressing because we don't know when it's going to end. It
I
is.
feel
It's
like the
really
government is
depressing.
telling you not to report on COVID deaths because all of these ignorant people are picketing, being like, we want to go out and do this and do that. So since the government leans more that way because they're ignorant as hell, they're like, let's make it seem like there's not as many people dying so that we can get life back to normal so people don't picket and that Trump wins again. That fucking
Hmm.
asshole. Sorry.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe.
I was really trying to think of why. Like, this past couple hours, I'm like, why would she say that? Like, it's really been bothering me. But that's a good point.